What's up, guys? I'm Jamear J, and I'm here with this very special lady here today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Portia Grimes, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, as what we call a mental health therapist or counselor here in the state of Georgia and also in the state of Michigan. I'm a board certified telemental health provider.
All right, nice. So what all do you range in? Because I know you are a lady that specializes in a broad field. What all do you specialize in?
Well, I do children 4 to 6, 7 to 10, and adolescents 11 to 17. I do play therapy with my children from 4 to 10. I do relationship specialists. I do couples. I do couples who are getting ready to get married. I do couples that are already married with problems. Family counseling, that's from 2 in the family all the way up to 6 in the family.
And so about substance abuse, do you do a little bit of that as well, I'm sure?
Certainly do, because in this time of the pandemic, we have a lot of people who have, started doing substance. We call it mood altering substances. So that includes everything. Okay. That's opiates, that's marijuana, it's alcohol, it's all under one roof of mood altering substances because it changes your mood. It makes you for some people, it makes them feel better. They can be more outgoing. It makes them feel less sad. Those are the mood altering substances. So we talk about that and under the title of substance use disorder. We don't any longer say abuse. Very, very seldom in a diagnosis, we say the substance use disorder. So that can be substance use as a dependence, so that we depend on it every day. Some people say, well, I have to smoke weed every day. So in order for me to get along, I got to have a drink, have my glass of wine every night. And those are the things that we talk about. What level are you at in your substance use? Because when we say substance abuse, it makes it look like we don't talk about alcoholism like that. We talk about substance use and how it fits your case and how you have delved into using more substance than what's necessary.
Gotcha. So how can you know specifically, like with a person, when maybe they've taken it a step too far with their substance abuse? Like, what are some triggers or some warnings that makes you think, okay, this may be a problem?
In this time of the pandemic, I can use that as a reason we can look at it like that. Maybe before the pandemic in 2019, you would have a drink maybe once in a while over the weekend, maybe 1 or 2 drinks as you go out. And now you find out that every day, because I'm stuck in my home trying to do my work, I'm stuck with my children, they're there. And so consequently, I am drinking more. I'm having a glass maybe in the early evening and then just before I go to bed, and it could be a glass of wine, but I'm having to use it every day just to kind of, like people say, wind down. I got to wind down from all this. Oh, my kids upset me so bad today. They're not doing their work right. Many things trigger more substance use, not necessarily abuse, but more use, because we have the different titles under dependence and we have abuse. And then we have, those are the things that we talk about. I'm dependent upon this so I can feel better at the end of the night, or even so I can get to bed and go to sleep at night.
Okay. So talking about abuse, what is substance abuse then? Because I know we said it's different than dependence and use. What exactly is substance abuse?
Okay, substance abuse is when we are depending on our substance, our mood altering substance, more than usual. So if normal, before all of this happened, you were maybe smoking a blunt maybe once a week, or maybe you were, smoking some weed with your friends, and now every day you are with your friends smoking that blunt, or 2 or 3. That's the abuse. Or even when you're drinking and you used to be, I'm going out to happy hour and I'm going to have me a glass of wine and then I'm good for the night. But now I'm drinking a glass of wine every night, or I'm drinking 3 beers by myself at home. Or sometimes I go out and I buy a case and I'll finish that case before the week is over with. That's when it gets into abuse.
Gotcha. So let's kind of shift gears. Talking about in the Black community, we deal a lot with having that drunk uncle or someone in our even immediate family who has, substance abuse or substance use issues. Can we talk about some good coping mechanisms for people that are dealing with that in their family, maybe in that immediate family, their mom or dad?
So we have to know that when we are dealing with mood altering substances and the use and abuse of them, that we must understand that it is an individual process. So even when we have that uncle or that auntie or that sister or brother who is drinking and we know that they've moved into that abusive part, we have to know that if you're not ready to give it up, if you're not ready to recognize and be aware that there is a problem, then we cannot work to that place where we can start to come back and get on the road to abstinence, get on the road to recovery. We can't do that until that person is willing. Yes, I worked in a hospital where we had an addictions unit, and we had the where we got them away from the physical part, where we took them and we gave them all the medicine, and they got physically out from having to use it. But then there is the mental part.
Right.
So it's not only once we get physically addicted to a substance that's mood altering the way we think and feel, it is also about the brain. And we have to know that any mood altering substances affects not only our physical, but it affects our mental. And that is the biggest thing, because it starts to affect our memory, our concentration, our focus, how we sleep, and it affects our dopamine, which is our pleasure center. And that, when it's all to do with just what we take in, and that's the only time we feel pleasure, then we know that there's a problem.
Yeah. Okay, quick question then. There's a thin line between helping someone and enabling someone. And I know, especially if you have it in your family, it's really, really tough when you want to help that family member, but then you end up enabling them and making it even worse. What can you give, or what advice can you give to people dealing with that, and how can they help without crossing that line of enabling?
Well, this is what I say that has to be done. We have to understand that enabling is one of the not so good places that we need to be with people that have problems with substance use and problems with substance abuse. We have to know that, yes, we have to get them to a place where they want to get the help, because we can push them into all of these drug programs, rehab programs. And if they're not willing within themselves to recognize, then we're not going to be able. We can enable them and say, okay, go. And then you get your 4 or 5 days getting out of the substance physically, and then you're good to go. But no, because they go right back to it, because the addiction doesn't stop with just getting physically away from it. It is physical and mental. And if we can get that person to understand just how important it is, that's why we need to have professionals that we deal with. We cannot do it on our own because we're not professionals. We don't know how this thing works. But if we can get them to that addiction specialist, if we can get them into the hospital to do the first step of a mile run, we're going to get a quarter of a mile because we're going to get them physically out from the addiction. Then that's the first step. And then we go into the rehab programs, and they have rehab programs all over the place that we can get them so that but they have to be willing. If they're not willing, then we got a problem.
Right. And my last question. So to those people at home that realize, hey, I have a problem. I know it. Maybe I'm smoking weed too much. Maybe I'm drinking during this pandemic way more. Now that they know that they have the problem, they have that first step, where do they go next? What can you give them with that?
Okay, and that's the good thing that you just said. I know. So it's awareness. Awareness that I am way over where I should be. I am using it as a place where I have to have it. People say, I've got to have it. I got to do this. And that's when we make ourselves aware that we are there, then we can say, okay, I know I need the help. Because if you aren't aware that I have a drinking problem, a marijuana smoking problem, if I'm doing too many opiates and I'm running to the doctor getting this prescription, or if I'm doing heroin, we call it heroin in the streets, but heroin. If I know I have that type of street drug problem, then I got to come away from that. I got to be aware, because I can continue to, I can handle that. I can do this. I don't need that. I don't need that until we become aware. Awareness is the first step in trying to get us to where we need to be, so we come away from abuse, we come away from dependence, and we come away from substance use disorder.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time and heroin. That was funny. But you know what? A lot of, like, honestly, and I'm sorry, this is just a side note, but nowadays in this time, there are a lot of gateway drugs that literally push you right towards the hard drugs. I mean, we talk about lean, we talk about, you know, Zans, all types of things. So it's actually not as far-fetched, and I'm sure you can attest to this. Those hard drugs are not as far-fetched as you would think. When you say it, it sounds harsh, but it's true and it's real. So I just kind of had to say that on the side note, you know. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And thank you, thank you. All right, guys, there you have it. It was so great having this interview with you. I learned so much as well. And have a good night.